Then listen closely, not with your ears, but with the quiet part of your soul that still believes in the dignity of truth and the power of presence. Because trust is not given, it is evoked. It rises like mist from the warmth of integrity and the coolness of patience. Trust is not something you ask for, it's something you become. And the first secret to being trusted is this: be consistent when no one is watching. Because the person who shows up the same behind closed doors as they do in public carries a weight in their presence that words cannot fake. Their voice doesn't need to be loud because their life already speaks. People trust you when they see that your values don't disappear under pressure. They trust you when your boundaries remain, even when breaking them would be easier. They trust you when you are the same in silence as you are in praise. Trust begins in the quiet patterns of character, the ones repeated, not for credit, not for applause, but for alignment, for peace, for self-respect. Because if you cannot trust yourself to live your principles, neither will anyone else. Second, tell the truth, even when it costs you admiration. Because truth is a currency that doesn't inflate. It's heavy, it's inconvenient, but it endures. We live in a world where people will trade authenticity for approval, honesty for likes, truth for image. But every time you tell the truth gently, respectfully, and clearly, you build a bridge. It may not be the fastest bridge, but it is the one that never collapses under the weight of time. And truth isn't cruelty, it's clarity. It's speaking with care, not control. It's being real, not raw for the sake of spectacle. It's saying, this is who I am, and I honor who you are enough to speak from that place. People don't trust perfection. They trust realness, the kind that admits fault, owns mistakes, and corrects course without defensiveness. The kind that has the courage to say, I was wrong, without shrinking. The kind that says, I don't know, without shame. The kind that's willing to lose admiration in order to keep respect. Third, do what you say you'll do every time, especially the small things. Because trust dies not in betrayal, but in 1,000 forgotten promises. It dies in the text never answered, in the coffee never scheduled, in the task brushed aside. But when someone sees that your word is your bond event, in what seems trivial, they begin to relax around you. Their shoulders drop, their voice steadies, their heart opens. And here's the paradox. People don't remember what you promise, they remember what you follow through on. You don't need to offer the world. Offer what you can give, and then deliver it with quiet strength. Let your yes mean yes. Let your no mean no, and let your silence never become avoidance. Fourth, show people that you can hold space without trying to fix them. This is one of the rarest forms of emotional maturity and one of the most magnetic. Everyone wants to be understood, but very few people want to be solved. The moment someone feels like a problem in your presence is the moment they stop trusting you with their pain. But when you listen, truly listen, without rushing to explain or interrupt or analyze, you become sacred to them, because people trust those who can sit in the fire with them without flinching. They trust those who don't panic when tears come. They trust those who can hold silence without the compulsion to fill it. Your presence becomes medicine, not because you healed them, but because you didn't try to control what was never yours to fix. Fifth, respect boundaries, both theirs and your own. Trust grows in the soil of respect. And respect is not softness. It's strength that knows its shape. People trust those who don't overstep, who don't pry, who don't manipulate under the guise of closeness. When you ask before entering someone's emotional space, when you honor the word no without punishment, when you protect your energy without blaming others, you show maturity. And maturity is the backbone of trust. Sixth, protect what's shared in confidence, as if it were your own breath. Because once someone entrusts you with a piece of their inner world, they are not offering information, they are offering vulnerability. And the way you handle that vulnerability tells them everything they need to know about your character. Never trust the people who tell you other people's secrets, because if they gossip to you, they will eventually gossip about you. A person who leaks private truth for the thrill of being interesting is a person who has chosen cheap currency over sacred trust. But when someone tells you something and it never leaves your heart or your mouth, not even in subtle hints, not even in coded jokes, not even when you're angry, that's when your silence becomes their sanctuary. That's when they breathe deeper in your presence. That's when they know you are safe. Because trust is earned in silence, not in spectacle. Seventh, be calm in conflict. This is one of the fastest and most powerful ways to build trust. Not by avoiding hard conversations, but by meeting them with emotional maturity, with respect, with curiosity, instead of defensiveness. People don't stop trusting you because you disagree. They stop trusting you because your disagreement turns into disrespect, because your frustration turns into punishment, because your truth turns into a weapon, not a bridge. But when you can speak with strength, without needing to overpower, when you can disagree without humiliation, when you can admit where you're learning without pretending to already know, you become trustworthy not because you're perfect, but because you're grounded. Emotional control is not about suppression. It's about choosing response over reaction. It's about knowing that your power lies not in the storm, but in your ability to withstand it without inflicting it on others. Eighth, apologize with integrity and change, because trust isn't built through perfection. It's built through repair. A real apology doesn't perform remorse. It expresses responsibility. It doesn't say, "I'm sorry you felt that way." It says, "I understand how I contributed to your pain, and I will do better." When people see that you are willing to face your flaws without collapse, when they see you grow instead of just regret, when they see your apology backed by change, not just words, they start to trust not only your heart, but your evolution. Because the person who apologizes sincerely, consistently, and humbly is the person who can be counted on. Ninth, let your values speak louder than your opinions. People may admire your brilliance, they may respect your achievements, but they will only trust your values. Because values are what you return to when it costs you something. Values are what remain when the lights go out. Values are what guide your decisions when no one is clapping. When someone sees that your compassion holds 7 when you're angry, that your honesty holds 7 when it would be easier to lie, that your kindness holds 7 when others fail to match it, that's when they begin to trust you, not just as a person, but as a compass. And finally, 10th, be deeply, genuinely interested in others, not as a strategy, but as a way of life. Because nothing disarms the human heart faster than feeling seen without being analyzed. Nothing builds trust faster than your quiet presence saying, "I'm here not to change you, not to use you, but to know you." As Dale Carnegie said, you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. It is not charisma that builds trust. It is curiosity. The gentle, steady, kind. The kind that asks without pressing. The kind that listens without rehearsing its next reply. The kind that remembers small things. The kind that makes people feel you mattered, not just in the moment, but in memory. Because trust isn't built in the spotlight. It's built in the pauses, in the patience, in the quiet way you made someone feel that they were never a transaction, but always a soul worth honoring. And now we arrive at the silent summit, where the secrets of trust are no longer steps to follow, but states to embody. Because in the end, trust isn't something you build with people, it's something you become in their presence. A quiet force, a calm center, a steady soul in a collapsing world. You want to be trusted? Then don't just practice integrity when it's easy. Practice it when your ego is bruised, when your pride is howling for revenge, when no one's looking and you could get away with it. Be the kind of person who still chooses the right path, especially then. You want to be trusted? Don't just speak with sincerity when the audience is generous. Speak with sincerity when they're cold, skeptical, distracted, because that's when your sincerity stops being performance and becomes principle. You want to be trusted? Then speak less about yourself. Ask better questions. Be curious without agenda. Care without broadcasting your care. Love without demanding proof. Because trust doesn't rise from what you say, it rises from what people feel in your presence. And the moment they feel safe enough to be themselves near you, unguarded, unedited, unafraudis, the moment they start trusting you more than they even realize. People don't trust the person who is always right. They trust the one who makes room for them to be real. They don't trust the one with the best story. They trust the one who doesn't make them feel like a supporting character. They don't trust the loudest voice in the room. They trust the presence that calms the noise inside their heart. So stop trying to win trust with brilliance. Win it with being. Be the one who remembers names, who notices the small things, who holds silence with grace, who doesn't flinch at pain, who doesn't gossip under pressure, who doesn't shrink from truth, who doesn't manipulate with charm, who doesn't control with kindness, who doesn't rush the soul of another just to reach a destination of closeness. Because trust is not a trick, it is a sacred rhythm, a vibration that resonates through how you treat people when they are at their most human, most insecure, most unlovable, most unsure, most raw. Be the presence they never had before. Be the voice that doesn't interrupt. Be the heart that doesn't hurry. Be the energy that doesn't demand. Be the peace that doesn't punish. And they will trust you, not just with their words, but with their wounds, with their truths, with their sacred self. Because in a world full of masks and noise and performance and power games, the one who walks in quiet integrity becomes unforgettable. So walk as that one. And when you do, you won't need to ask for trust. It will meet you at the door. It will follow you down the road. And it will echo in every life you've touched. Trust is not earned by intensity. It is earned by intentionality. And that intentionality is often invisible to the world. It lives in the way you speak to someone who has no influence. It lives in how you treat the waiter, the janitor, the receptionist, because the truth is, the way you treat someone who can do nothing for you says everything about the kind of person you are. The world watches more closely when you think no one is watching. Trust is built in these microscopic moments, so brief they escape language, but so powerful they anchor memory. A warm nod when someone is ignored. A silent standing of your ground when gossip begins. The strength to walk away, not because you were defeated, but because you refused to descend. You want to make people trust you, then remove the performance. Drop the pretense. Stop curating yourself like a product and return to something even more rare: presence. The kind that listens like time doesn't exist. The kind that makes others feel less alone just by how you breathe when they speak. And don't confuse trust with popularity. Many people are adored. Few are trusted. You can be celebrated by thousands and yet confided in by no one, because celebration is for what you give the world. But trust is for what you withhold judgment ego, agenda. It is better to be trusted by one than praised by 1,000. Be someone people run to, not because you have answers, but because your presence never made them feel small for asking. And if you want to go deeper, still then study the art of restraint. Not silence for silence's sake, but restraint that comes from strength. When someone is spiraling in pain, don't drown them with advice. Don't smother them with solutions. Sit with them. Breathe with them. Let them find themselves in your stillness. People trust those who don't rush their healing. And when you speak, speak from truth, not from fear, because every word born of fear plants seeds of distrust. When you flatter to be liked, they will feel the hollowness beneath the praise. When you bend your truth to avoid rejection, they will sense the fracture. And when you manipulate with kindness, they will never feel safe, even if they don't know why. The body knows what the mind cannot articulate, and the body always recognizes safety. So make your energy safe and not perfect, not passive, not performative safe. Safe in the way that says, I will not invade your soul. I will not make you a character in my story. I will not use your weakness to prove my wisdom. I will not wear your secrets as a trophy. That is trust. And here's something they won't teach you in books. Sometimes, the most trustworthy person is the one who disappears, not out of abandonment, but out of respect. The one who senses that their presence is no longer healing and steps back without guilt. The one who knows that trust is not maintained through proximity, but through honor. Sometimes people will test your boundaries to see if you will betray yourself to keep them. Don't. Because the person who trusts themselves the most is often the one trusted by others without effort. Why? Because self-trust is contagious. When you no longer need external validation to live in your truth, you become magnetic. Others feel it, even if they can't name it. It feels like gravity, like calm, like coming home. And don't forget, trust is not linear. It doesn't grow in a straight line. It deepens in layers. Sometimes, someone will test you, not because they doubt you, but because they've never experienced the kind of safety you offer. Be patient with their hesitancy. Don't demand trust. Deserve it. Repeatedly. Without entitlement. Without expectation. Because when someone trusts you, they're not giving you access to their thoughts. They're giving you access to their story. And when someone gives you a piece of their story, you hold their whole life in your hands. So hold it with care. Hold it with silence. Hold it with humility. And if you've ever lost someone's trust, remember this. Trust can be rebuilt not by force, not by convincing, but by consistency, compassion, and time. Never pressure someone to trust you again. Instead, become trustworthy again, quietly, unapologetically, and let your life speak louder than your guilt. Let your healing become your apology. Let your growth become your promise. Let your integrity become the new foundation. Because in the end, it isn't how many people trust you that matters, it's who you become in the process of being worthy of trust. You don't need to advertise your trustworthiness. You just need to live it. In every moment, in every room, in every unseen act. And one day, without fanfare, someone will sit across from you, look into your eyes, and say, I don't know why, but I feel like I can tell you anything. And that is the quiet, sacred proof that you've become someone whose soul speaks louder than any voice ever could.